I'm sorry, so sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. Oops, I'm sorry. So sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. Oops, I'm sorry. So sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. So sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry.
Welcome to the Unapolygetic Love Podcast. I'm Joy, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today. This podcast is all about exploring the messy, complicated, and beautiful aspects of love and relationships and self-discovery. Today's episode is all about reclaiming our sexuality after experiencing trauma and embracing our authentic sexual selves. We'll be discussing how trauma can impact our relationships with our sexuality and offering tips and strategies for overcoming these challenges. Whether you've experienced trauma yourself or just want to learn about supporting others who have, this episode is for you. Grab a mimosa, get comfortable, and let's dive into real, unfiltered conversations about sexuality, healing, and self-love. So, the reason why this subject is so important to me is because it's something I experienced. It's crazy because from a very young age, I came to understand that men wanted one thing from women. And I think that it was like a struggle for me growing up and experiencing life and developing connections with males, just in general. So I know my first sexual experience, I was probably about 5 years old. And I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I remember coming to the realization that something happened. My mom and my grandma and my aunt, they used to take us to my grandma's ex-boyfriend's house, and we used to always be there. And I couldn't figure out why I never wanted to be there, right? I just felt really uncomfortable in his house, always. And I couldn't remember why. At this time, I was maybe like 12, because my mom had just brought us out to the Monrovia area. We had been living in San Diego for years. So I couldn't figure out why, like, I would feel weird in dude's house. Like, I never wanted to be in there. My cousin was sitting with me outside. And then one day I just remembered he tried to give me this, like, his dick. Like a 5-year-old. This is a grown ass man, my grandma's boyfriend. And to this day, I really can't understand why they continue to take us around this man, right? And then even years later, come to find out, he ended up raping one of our cousins. And it was years later, but this came out as an adult. Like, me and my cousin, we'll get into that in a second. I'm skipping ahead. There was that, and then there was a time where my mom was on drugs really bad. She ended up leaving to move to New York, to go live with the girlfriend that she had, and she left me with my grandma, and she took my sister with her. So she took Eileen and not me. So she took my sister with her. She left me with my grandma, and I would always, wander around my grandma's apartment. It was mostly me by myself there a lot, but sometimes my cousin would come. My aunt initially lived upstairs, and then she ended up moving in with my now favorite uncle. And she ended up moving in with him. So my cousin wasn't there with me as much. So I would wander around the apartments and get myself into trouble. And I was being what they call fast one day, and I was in this man's house and just flirting. I told him I was 14. I was really like 12. And I remember, like, I'm sitting on his bed and he's trying to have sex with me. And I wasn't feeling it because I had never had sex before and I didn't want to start. And dude ended up moving forward anyway. And for a long time, I felt like, bruh, like, I never said no. I did say no. I never screamed. I felt like I didn't scream. I didn't make a big deal about it in the moment. I did say no, but it was like no. Like, it was like a soft no. It wasn't like a hard no. And I didn't want it. I cried the entire time he was on top of me. I went home and I cried. And because I didn't say it out loud or scream it at the top of my lungs, I thought that I okayed it, even though I cried and he still continued to do his business. So I would avoid him because he still lived in the apartments. I didn't tell anybody until years later. And then when me and my cousin were walking down the street one day, she saw, and I told her, I whispered it to her, and she chased him down the street. I love you, cousin. And yeah, like that was something. And then it happened again. Like it was like all of my first sexual experiences, well, most of them were rape. So my mom ended up coming back, and we ended up moving. I ended up moving back in with her. She got a place in LA. And no, she hadn't gotten a place in LA. She was moving. She was at that time she was living with her girlfriend, in some lady's place or whatever. And I would leave because the house stunk so bad, and I hated being there. So I would leave and just walk down the street. And I met this boy again. Didn't learn my lesson. I met this boy, and I started to walk down the street with him. And we ended up in an alley, and I kind of like didn't feel safe. And I started to kind of like, oh, hey, I want to walk back. It was daytime though, so I didn't think something was gonna happen to me. And he like grabbed me and like forced me in this truck in his yard, and raped me there. And a neighbor just so happened to oversee and look out the window and screamed, and that's how I got away. I would put myself in some really tricky situations, but I don't think that no one ever really sat down to me and told me about the real world. I think that was always kind of naive about humans in the real world. Like even after things were happening to me, like I still was very naive. So that happened. And then from there came the promiscuity. I became very promiscuous, and I hated myself. I wanted to be loved so bad. My mom left me. I didn't have my dad. We were taken away from my grandma. And I just didn't really have anybody, and I wanted love so bad. And now at this point in my life, I was like, okay, this is how I get it. Clearly, this is what they want. And so this is how I get that attention. This is how I get that love. And it just got really, really bad from there. And I was very promiscuous. And now that I look back at things, I realize I never really cared about myself. Like I never really cared about myself, because how can you care about yourself when no one cares about you? Like your mom, your dad, family. So this topic is very important to me because I know that I like experienced some things that were not okay. My whole goal in life, the goal for this podcast, my goal in life is to help people. Oh my God, is to help people who have been through the things that I have been through in hopes to prevent it. But even if I can't prevent it, in hopes to ease the pain and make going through it a little bit easier. Because when you experience certain traumatic things, people tend to fault you for your reaction to that. And people tend to judge you for how you act after that. And it takes a lot to get to the point where you genuinely love yourself. And I know that because I was promiscuous, my aunt told me one day, I was living with her and I was having problems at her house. And I think I might have asked her, why doesn't she want me to live there? She told me I had to move out and I hadn't done anything. And she told me because of how I was, that she didn't trust me around her husband, my uncle. That's my uncle. And I was always made fun of or talked about, or Trifina's a hoe. And it just made me really hate myself because I didn't know how to fix who I was. I didn't know how to not do the things that I was doing. I knew it was a problem, but I didn't know why it was a problem. Or no one ever sat me down and was like, okay, Trifina, something's going on here. Talk to me. No one. And so my purpose is to help those women who are experiencing that or have been experiencing that to come out of it and know that you are worthy, you are everything. And whatever traumas, whatever situations you faced, you can get through this, and I'm here to help. Even if you just want to reach out to me, DM me, you've been through something, I'm here to help. So, got into that. That's why this topic is so near and dear to me, because I struggled really badly growing up. this is one of the things, and I like really wanted to talk about this, right? I'm trying to write an outline and nothing's coming out right. I didn't deleted it and rewrote an outline for it and trying to figure out where I'm going with this topic, and I deleted it. But I knew I wanted to talk about it. I knew I had to talk about it because this is something important that no one really talks about. People talk about it, but you don't hear it a whole lot. I just kind of I want to help you. I want to help you get through it, what you've been going through. So if you feel the need to reach out to me, my socials will be at the bottom. Feel free to do so. The first part of healing is to understand how trauma can affect someone's relationship with their sexuality. So, like I told you, I became very sexually promiscuous, and I sometimes would sleep with people that I wasn't even really attracted to, or because I wanted that love and attention, and they were showing me that. And I don't think that there were many times where I actually enjoyed sex growing up, from the age of 12 on up, because I had started having sex pretty early. Had my first child at 15, and I don't think I really enjoyed it. I literally just started enjoying sex this past 3 years, and that's because I'm healing. I'm getting to a space where I'm healing. And healing is a journey. But I did not. I just did it just to do it. I became a nympho because I wasn't craving the active sex. I was craving the attention that I got in that moment, even if it was temporary, because I had to get it from somewhere. Ooh, trauma causes difficulty with intimacy and forming close relationships. So I know that just me personally, I did have a lot of trouble forming close relationships. I just, especially with men, because I would get a friend and then now we're having sex and now he's not my friend anymore because that whole aspect of it. And now he's not giving me what I need emotionally because he just wanted sex in the first place. And that was always a whole thing. The fear of vulnerability is also an effect of sexual trauma, negative body image, and self-esteem issues. I was a little skinny little something, had like a little perfect body. Now I'm a little thicker, with stretch marks, and I never liked my body. I would wear big old jackets. I did not believe that I was pretty. For years, I could look in the mirror and I did not believe I was a cute girl. I would hear it all the time, like, oh my God, you're so pretty, but I never believed it. Avoidance of sexual contact or activity, clearly that was not me, but it does happen. Sexual dysfunction, difficulty with arousal, orgasm, or pain during sex. I definitely experienced some difficulty with arousal. I did not actually orgasm, or I think I can't even tell you. I probably, as an adult, was the first time I actually orgasmed. Increased risk-taking behavior in sexual relationships. Clearly, that was one of them. Not just one thing that comes with promiscuity is not always using protection. That was an issue growing up. Luckily, I never caught anything serious, but that was definitely risky. Make sure you're always using protection. Compulsive sexual behavior or hypersexuality as a coping mechanism. We discussed that. I definitely experienced that. And the inability to experience pleasure during sexual activity. Some of the symptoms of sexual trauma are dissociation during sexual activity. Like I said, I never actually had moments where I was connected to my partner. And I still, to this day, struggle with connecting with my partner. There's been probably a handful of people where I actually connected with sexually, had a deep connection with, and the sex was not just sex, because I just dissociate still to this day. It's still an issue for me. Flashbacks or intrusive memories during sexual activity, not something I experienced, but I definitely know that it is a thing. Shame, guilt, or feeling dirty or damaged. Man, was that a big one. All of it. Shame, the shame behind it. having sex with these people that I didn't have attachment to and feeling bad about it, and other people making me feel bad about it and not knowing the root of the problem and not even caring to understand the guilt behind not being able to stop. I had a problem. Feeling dirty or damaged, definitely, especially after having children, felt like no one would want me if they knew who I was, or my past or my experiences. Anxiety or panic attacks during sexual activity. Never experienced that. Difficulty trusting partners or feeling safe during sexual activity. Loss of interest in sex or sexuality. Clearly, that was not a problem for me, but I do know that it is a problem for some people. Changes in sexual orientation or gender identity. I didn't completely change, but I definitely am attracted to girls. I'm not sure if that is something that was directly associated with me being raped, but I don't know. But difficulty communicating about sexual needs or desires, definitely, definitely an issue for me as well. Some of the different types of trauma that can affect your sexuality are sexual abuse or assault. This type of trauma involves unwanted sexual contact or behavior, which can have a profound impact on a survivor's relationship with their sexuality. Survivors of sexual abuse or assault may experience symptoms such as dissociation, shame, anxiety, and difficulty with intimacy. We did touch on all of that. That definitely could be an issue. When people body shame or appearance based trauma, that type of trauma involves negative messages or experiences related to one's body or appearance, which can impact their self-esteem and sexual identity. Examples include being bullied for one's weight or physical features, or experiencing body dysmorphia. I have never been body shamed, but I due to the sexual assault, I definitely did experience some trauma there, which also had a lot to do with my self-esteem and my sexual identity. I would hide my body, afraid that people were looking at me, things like that. It really sucks. Cultural stigma and discrimination. Cultural trauma can impact an individual's sexuality by creating shame or guilt around their sexual identity or behavior. For example, individuals from cultures that stigmatize homosexuality or non-traditional gender roles may experience internalized homophobia or transphobia. I didn't experience that, but my mom definitely did. She's still to this day, because she's very religious. She is a Christian, and of course, the Bible teaches that homophobia is wrong. So my mom is definitely homophobic. I remember when I first told her that I liked girls, she cried, and it breaks my heart because she really believes that she's going to hell because she's gay, but this is who she is. So that's definitely a problem. Um, Medical trauma, medical procedures or conditions can also impact an individual's sexuality, particularly if they involve the genitals or reproductive system. Survivors of medical trauma may experience sexual dysfunction, anxiety, or difficulty with intimacy. Childhood trauma or neglect. Trauma experienced during childhood, such as neglect or emotional abuse, can impact an individual's inability to form healthy attachments and engage in healthy sexual behavior later in life. I definitely, because it's, for me, it's like it's more coupled with my sexual trauma and my childhood trauma and neglect that I experienced growing up. Like my mom, I was in foster care from the age of, I think, 14 until I turned 18. My family still didn't accept me after that. I have a serious issue forming healthy attachments. I don't feel close to a lot of people. And people want to get close to me, but I don't, like, I'm struggling with that. It's still a current struggle. And I'm working through it. I'm getting better. I'm communicating my feelings more. My communication has gotten really good. My boundary setting has gotten really good. But I definitely have struggled with healthy attachments, and that comes from childhood trauma and neglect. So I did a little bit of research on the prevalence of sexual trauma and its impact on someone's behavior. According to the National Intimate Partner in Sexual Violence Survey, nearly 1 in 5 women and 1 in 38 men in the United States have experienced rape or attempted rape in their lifetime. Additionally, the World Health Organization estimates that globally, 1 in 3 women will experience sexual violence in their lifetime. Wow. 1 in 3 women. 1 in 5 women have experienced rape or attempted rape in their lifetime. 1 in 30. Wow. That's insane. That is insane. Oh, sexual trauma can have a significant impact on an individual's sexual behavior, leading to symptoms such as avoidance of sexual activity, sexual dysfunction, and compulsive sexual behavior. One study published in the Journal of Traumatic Stress found that female survivors of childhood sexual abuse were more likely to engage in high-risk sexual behavior, such as unprotected sex and sex with multiple partners, compared to those with a history of sexual trauma. I don't know if it helps you guys knowing the statistics and knowing why you experienced some of the things and you became promiscuous or you shied away from sex. I don't know if it helps you guys to know the why, but it definitely helps me. Sexual trauma can impact individuals on all genders, male, female, but research suggests that women may be more likely to experience sexual trauma and its related effects on sexual behavior. A study published in the Journal of Interpersonal Violence found that women who reported a history of childhood sexual abuse were more likely to report sexual dysfunction and dissatisfaction compared to men with a history of sexual trauma. Sexual trauma can be a component of complex trauma, which refers to repeated and prolonged exposure to traumatic events. One study published in the Journal of Traumatic Stress found that individuals with a history of complex trauma were more likely to report sexual dysfunction and symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, so PTSD, compared to those with a history of single incident trauma. Here are some strategies and tips for overcoming trauma and reclaiming your sexuality. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation or yoga, can help survivors of trauma develop a greater sense of present moment awareness and connect with their bodies. This can help survivors become more comfortable with sexual experiences and sensations and reduce dissociation or avoidance of behaviors. Therapy can be a helpful tool for survivors of trauma to process and heal from their experiences, as well as address any related sexual difficulties or concerns. A trained therapist can work with survivors to develop coping strategies and support their journey towards reclaiming their sexuality. I am a certified life coach, and I can absolutely assist you if you are having difficulties in this area. But I do suggest that if you are experiencing some like more serious trauma or some more serious experiences like thoughts of suicide or things like that, that you do consult with a therapist. It's important for survivors of trauma to show themselves compassion and kindness, particularly when it comes to their relationships with their sexuality. This can involve setting boundaries, being patient and gentle with themselves, and practicing self-care. Learning about the impacts of trauma on sexuality can be a powerful step in reclaiming one's sexual identity. Understanding that one's difficulties with sexuality are not their fault and are a normal response to trauma and can help survivors to move towards healing and empowerment. Surrounding oneself with supportive and understanding individuals, such as trusted friends, partner, a support group, can be helpful in navigating the journey towards reclaiming one's sexuality after trauma. So it's very important for you to take things at your own pace. Don't think that you're supposed to move at someone else's pace or you're supposed to heal instantly. Healing takes time. Healing from sexual trauma specifically takes time. And healing just in general takes time. Don't think that you have to hurry up and get on with it because this happened to you in the past. However long it happened to you, it's okay if you're still experiencing some feelings towards it. You just saw me cry about something that happened to me years ago. I do feel like I am overall healed from it, but does it still bother me? Absolutely. It's going to bother you. It's very important that you also seek support from trusted individuals. It's important for you to understand that your journey towards reclaiming your sexuality as your own, and it's okay to take things at your own pace. Trauma can have a profound impact on one's relationship with their sexuality, and it's important to approach healing with patience and self-compassion. Receiving support from trusted individuals such as friends, family members, or a therapist can be a crucial part of the healing process. These individuals can provide validation, empathy, and understanding, helping you feel less alone and more supported. Setting boundaries and communicating your needs and limitations is an essential part of healing after trauma. It's okay to say no to sexual experiences or activities that don't feel safe or comfortable, and to take things at the pace that feels manageable. I think that one of my biggest issues that I did have growing up that promoted my promiscuity was the fact that I felt like I had to have sex with them. If I didn't have sex with them, they weren't gonna like me anymore. That I was like they weren't gonna spend time with me anymore, and that's gonna happen if they don't like you. I mean, it just is what it is. Like, it's not funny. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Don't do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Don't let someone convince you to do something that you're not comfortable with doing. Period. Don't do it. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. That can be so powerful. To acknowledge your journey towards healing and reclaiming your sexuality. Recognize and celebrate moments of growth or accomplishments that can help you to boost your confidence and motivation. Seek professional support from a therapist or counselor who specializes in trauma. That can be an incredibly valuable tool in the healing process. These professionals can provide guidance, validation, and support in navigating the complex emotions and experiences related to sexual trauma. Ultimately, the most important thing for you to remember is that you're not alone and that healing is possible. By taking things at your own pace, seeking support from trusted individuals, and approaching the healing journey with patience and self compassion, you can move towards reclaiming your sexuality and living a fulfilling, empowering life. So, here are some people who have successfully reclaimed their sexuality after experiencing trauma and how they did it. Tarana Burke, founder of the Me Too movement. Tarana Burke has been a vocal advocate for survivors of sexual violence. Burke has spoken about her own experiences with sexual trauma and how she worked to reclaim her sexuality through therapy, self-care practices, and community support. Roxane Gay has been open about her experiences with sexual trauma and how it has impacted her relationship with her body and sexuality. Through writing and speaking publicly about her experiences, Gay has found a sense of empowerment and connection with others. Tashmika Torak, founder of the Firecracker Foundation. Tashmika has been a fierce advocate for survivors of sexual trauma. Tarak has shared her own experiences with sexual abuse and how she has worked to reclaim her sexuality through therapy, mindfulness practices, and building a supportive community. Alok Vade Manon, performance artist and writer Alok, has been open about their experiences with trauma and how it has impacted their relationship with gender identity and sexuality. Through their work as an activist and performer, Vade Manan has found a sense of agency and empowerment in reclaiming their sexuality and gender expression. Writer and activist Janet Mock has been a powerful voice in the conversation around sexuality and trauma. Mock has spoken about her own experiences with sexual abuse and how she worked to reclaim her sexuality through therapy, mindfulness practice, and building a supportive community. These individuals have all found different ways to reclaim their sexuality after experiencing trauma. But some common themes include seeking support from trusted individuals, engaging in therapy and self-care practices, and building a community of people who understand and validate your experience. By sharing their stories and experiences, these individuals have helped to break the silence and stigma around sexual trauma, while also providing hope and inspiration for others on a similar journey towards healing and empowerment. By embracing your authentic sexual self, it can positively impact your overall well-being in relationships. Embracing your authentic self can lead to a greater sense of self-awareness and self-acceptance. When we allow ourselves to explore and express our true sexual desires and preferences, we can better understand who we are as individuals, which can lead to greater confidence and self-esteem. I didn't become so confident in myself and who I was until I started to embrace who I was. When I got to the terms of like, I went through this trauma, I turned into this person, I choose to heal from that trauma. And so I'm going to take back my power and start to build a new narrative, because that doesn't have to be my narrative. Now, that doesn't mean that am I less promiscuous? Yes, I am. But that comes from me loving myself and not wanting to give myself to anyone who wants me, right? And understanding that I don't want to connect with certain energies. There's just energies that I don't want to be tied to in that way. And when I do have sex with someone, I want there to be an intertwining of souls. And you can't have that connection with just anyone. I got to a place where I start to love myself and I wanted to protect my energy and my space. So I don't invite just anyone in. I do think that me being as promiscuous as I was because I didn't love myself and I was just trying to find love from anywhere. Once I accepted that, I was able to accept the fact that yes, I am into some kinky shit. And there's nothing wrong with that part. There is some things that I like that some people are not going to understand. And so what? They don't have to live my life. Embracing our authentic sexual selves can also lead to improved communication in our relationships. When we are able to clearly communicate our needs and desires to our partners, we are more likely to have fulfilling and satisfying sexual experiences. Why are we having sex with people we can't talk to about our sexual experiences? Why are we having sex with people that we can explain what pleases us? And we're feeling ashamed by telling them like we're going to hurt their feelings. Why are we doing that? I think that we should be tapping more into teaching people how to please us and learning how to please our partners. That way everybody's walking around. There was so many situations where I wasn't being pleasured. I was pretending like I was consistently having sex with people that weren't pleasing me, instead of teaching them, walking through it with them on how to please me. But maybe it's because I didn't really necessarily understand how to please myself, right? So by embracing our authentic sexual selves, we can also deepen our intimacy with our partners. We can feel when we feel comfortable and confident in expressing our true desires and preferences, we create a deeper connection with our partners, which can embrace overall relationship satisfaction. When we embrace our authentic sexual selves, we can also experience greater sexual pleasure by exploring and expressing our true desires and preferences. We can learn what brings us pleasure and satisfaction, which can lead to more fulfilling sexual experiences. Embracing our authentic sexual selves can have a positive impact on our overall well-being. When we are able to be true to ourselves sexually, we are more likely to experience a sense of joy and fulfillment in our lives, which can lead to a greater happiness and life satisfaction. Embracing our authentic sexual selves can also have a profound impact on our overall well-being and our relationships. By exploring and expressing our true desires and preferences, we can deepen our sense of self-awareness, improve our communication with others, enhance our sexual pleasure, and experience greater intimacy and overall life satisfaction. What my life might look like to embrace one's sexuality authentically, such as exploring new sexual experiences, communicating needs and desires, or practicing self-love. Exploring new sexual desires. Embracing one's authentic sexuality might involve exploring new sexual experiences that feel exciting and fulfilling. This might involve trying new positions, experimenting with different types of touch, or exploring different types of fantasies. It might also involve communicating needs and desires to sexual partners. This might involve having open and honest conversations about sexual preferences, boundaries, and desires, in order to ensure that both partners feel comfortable and satisfied in their sexual experiences. It might also involve practicing self-love and self-care. This might involve setting aside time for solo sexual exploration, which honestly is my favorite. Practicing self-touch or engaging in self-practices that promote self-love and body positivity. I like self-exploration because it gives me a chance to find out what I like and what I don't like, as well as deeper connection with myself. Like when I sometimes meditate during or do mantras, or I'm really interested in exploring tantric sex. So, embracing one's authentic sexuality might involve prioritizing pleasure in sexual experiences. This might mean prioritizing pleasure for oneself and one's partner and exploring what feels good and fulfilling for all parties involved. It might also involve celebrating diversity and embracing different types of sexual experiences, orientations, and identities. This might involve engaging in open-minded conversations with partners and exploring new sexual experiences that challenge traditional norms and expectations. Everybody does not fit in one box. Everybody likes different things, and it's okay if you like different things. Don't let anyone tell you, and don't tell anyone that they're weird for liking things that you don't like or that are outside of societal norms. Why do we do that? Let people be comfortable in who they are without somebody having an opinion about that. Embracing one's authentic sexuality might involve a range of practices, including exploring new sexual experiences, communicating needs and desires, practicing self love, prioritizing pleasure, and celebrating diversity. By embracing these practices, individuals can deepen their sense of self awareness, improve their sexual experiences, and promote greater intimacy and fulfillment in their relationships. Some of the resources and tools for individuals who want to learn more about embracing their authentic sexuality are therapy, seeking out a therapist who specializes in sex therapy or trauma therapy or even tantric can be a helpful resource for individuals who want to explore their sexuality in a safe and supportive environment. Therapists can help individuals identify patterns of behavior, work through past traumas, and develop strategies for embracing their authentic sexuality. Self help books can also help. There are many self help books available that provide guidance and tools for individuals who want to explore and embrace their sexuality. These books often cover topics such as self love, body positivity, communication, and exploring new sexual experiences. There are also online resources. There are many online resources available for individuals who want to learn more about embracing their authentic sexuality. Websites such as Scarletine, OMGs, and Good Vibrations provide information, resources, and tools for individuals who want to explore their sexuality and improve their sexual experiences. Also, joining sex positive communities. Joining sex positive communities, either online or in person, can be a helpful way for individuals to connect with others who share their interests and values. These communities often provide a supportive and non judgmental space for individuals to explore their sexuality and engage in open and honest conversations about sex. Workshops and classes. Attending workshops and classes on topics such as communication, self love, sexual exploration can be a helpful way for individuals to learn new skills and techniques for embracing their authentic sexuality. These classes often provide a safe and supportive environment for individuals to explore their sexuality and connect with others who share their interests. By utilizing these resources and tools, individuals can gain a greater understanding of their own sexuality, deepen their sense of self awareness, and develop strategies for embracing their authentic sexual selves. Also, we can't forget the fact that this also opens you up to talking about your partner's preferences as well. So you won't be so close minded and make them feel like what they're asking for is too much. Thank you so much for joining us on the Unapologetic Love Podcast today, where we talked about the importance of reclaiming our sexuality after experiencing trauma. We discussed the ways in which trauma can affect our relationships with our sexuality, the types of trauma that can impact our sexual behavior, and the strategies and tools we can use to embrace our authentic sexual selves. Remember, it's essential to take things at our own pace and seek support from trusted individuals. We also shared examples of people who have successfully reclaimed their sexuality after experiencing trauma, highlighting the importance of self-compassion and mindfulness practices. It's crucial to embrace our authentic sexual selves to positively impact our overall well-being in relationships. We provided examples of what it might look like to embrace our sexuality authentically, such as exploring new sexual experiences, communicating our needs and desires, and practicing self-love. We also shared resources and tools for individuals who want to learn more about embracing their authentic sexuality, including coaching, therapy, self help books, online resources, sex positive communities, and workshops and classes. Remember, self love is a journey and it's not always easy, but every moment of self discovery, every triumph, and every setback is worth it in the end. We encourage you to take action by seeking support and resources if you are struggling with your sexuality, or by sharing this episode with someone who might benefit from it. We hope this conversation has inspired you to believe in your own ability to heal and thrive. Thank you for tuning into the Unapologetic Love Podcast. And as always, stay unapologetically you.